Hi everyone, it's Vicky from Soul Studio, here to bring you another How to Art video. Today we're going to focus on something called concrete poetry. It's just kind of a fun way to make kind of a visual piece of poetry. It's kind of like a 50-50 split between drawing and creative writing. So it's really fun. I'm going to show you how to do one way of making concrete poetry today. The things we will need are a pencil, a pen, a sketchbook or a piece of paper. I'm going to use a pair of scissors to cut out a shape from a magazine. That's going to help me kind of define what my piece of poetry is going to look like, and I'll show you that in a second. So if you have a pair of scissors and maybe a magazine or a newspaper that you can flip through to find some nice shapes, that would be great, and then an eraser. Okay, so let's collect all those tools and meet you back here to get started. So first I'm going to show you a couple examples of concrete poetry. So here is an example of a piece by Carl Andre, where you can obviously see that the text is made in a very specific pattern. It's called a conquest display. I'm not sure exactly where the words came from, but if you look closely, the words are a little confusing or nonsensical. So if we start up here at the right, at the left, at the top left, it says, all arms alert, ascent, battles, audacity, daughters, assistance, confinement, conclusion, gentlemen, boldness, courage, defeat, death, gold, ori, go, God, food, night, dagger, justice, nonsense, Montezuma, and a couple other things that I can't quite pronounce. So these words, again, they could just be him kind of free associating. They could be kind of a certain order of words from a dictionary or a thesaurus. Who knows where these words come from? But they make a beautiful picture, this beautiful kind of negative and positive, and they make a very kind of abstract poem. So the next piece we have here is by an artist named Mary Ellen Scott. And this poem is a little bit more straightforward. It's called Forsythia, which is a beautiful plant. If you don't know what a forsythia looks like, take a look. It couldn't do anybody harm by Google searching some springtime plants right now. But obviously, with this poem, Mary Ellen Scott has kind of used the word forsythia in a lot of different ways. She kind of uses it very boldly down at the bottom to create a boundary that looks like a pot, obviously for a potted plant. And then she's actually used each letter of the word forsythia to create these kind of vines that look like they're kind of coming out of the plant. But if we also look across the bottom here, we can see that she has used the word almost as an acronym as well. So it says Forsythia, out, race, springs, yellow, telegram, hope, insists, action. Again, just kind of a beautiful poem that is a little bit more linear than the words that Carl Andre used, but still quite abstract, so that poem could mean something really direct, or it could just be words that Mary Ellen Scott stuck together to, because they worked with the word forsythia. And then our last example by Ian Hamilton Finley is really pretty specific and really kind of obvious. So obviously we have just kind of a square of words here, and the words inside are lack, block, black, block, black, block, black, block, black, block, black, block, and so on and so forth. But you can see he figured out kind of the ratios here so that every first line of the first letter of every line is L, and then the last letter of every line is B. So the square that we have here, the rectangle that we have here, really seems very consistent and very block-like. I mean, he's essentially creating a black block out of words. So here are three examples. And of course, Carl Andre, Mary Ellen Scott, and Ian Hamilton Finley have a pretty rigorous practice of concrete poetry. So if you want to do a little bit more research before you jump into your own, feel free to throw their names into a Google search. Each of those artists do have, kind of other work that they do, whether it's painting or sculpture. So try to focus on the concrete poetry or just continue doing the research however you'd like. But why don't we jump right into our concrete poem and see how it comes out. Okay, so here I have all my materials. I have a pair of scissors, a pencil, a pen, this is kind of a combination sharpener and eraser, but I could also just use the eraser on the back of my pencil if I want, my sketchbook, and my magazine. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to take my magazine and I'm going to find something that can just be a nice shape that I can use for the silhouette of my poem. And I'm actually going to use this pot right here, this kind of nice plump lidded jar. I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. And if you remember from the examples, we saw a lot of concrete poems that were in the shape of certain things. That's kind of the whole point of concrete poetry, right? So I just kind of cut this out very loosely right now. I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and really cut out as close to the actual image as possible. Just that way I can have a nice clean silhouette. If I don't want a nice clean silhouette, I don't have to worry about cutting out really kind of close to that shape. I could even just leave my piece like this and use kind of that abstract shape as the shape of my poem. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this pot out anyway so that I can get that nice clean shape. Okay, there we go. Now we have our form nice and clean cut out along those edges, and I can go ahead, put my scissors away, and jump to my notebook. Okay. All right, so now I got my nice clean brand new page in my notebook. I got my sharpened pencil. I'm gonna go ahead and take this pot, the silhouette of the pot, and just put it in the center of my paper. I'm gonna hold it in place, and I'm just gonna go ahead and lightly trace around the shape so that I kind of create a little outline for me to draw my text inside of. Okay, there we go. So I did that pretty light because in the end I'm going to erase that. So it's just the text that I'm looking at. I'm actually going to go back to my magazine here, and I'm actually just going to rip out a page that doesn't really matter much to me and use it to just make some nice lines so that I can write along some nice straight lines. I'm not always great at writing in kind of perfectly straight lines like that. If you are perfect, you can skip this part. Or if you want to kind of embrace kind of squigglier lines and text that isn't perfectly straight across the page or linear, you can skip this part too. But for now, I'm gonna keep it clean and we'll just see how it goes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use this edge of the magazine as a straight edge. You can use a ruler or the edge of a book instead if you want. And I'm just gonna make some relatively equally spaced lines throughout my pot. And again, I'm not pressing down too hard with my pencil here. I'm just doing it lightly. And again, this is just so that I have some space to work inside of, just so I have some kind of boundaries for me to write so things don't get too haywire. But again, if you want to embrace haywire, be my guest. All the better. That's kind of what the model of the concrete poets were. You know, they didn't feel like they had to keep poetry on the page or in the lines or anything. They literally worked outside the lines. Okay, so there we go. Now we get to go to our text. So I'm actually gonna put my pencil down and pick up my pen. I know this is some serious commitment working with pen here. And looking at this pot, I really like how colorful this pot is. I like how round it is, and I like how it has these beautiful glaze strips. So maybe what I'm gonna do as I fill these lines in, fill this pot up with text, is I'm gonna think about all those ways that I would describe this pot while I'm writing. And I'm not gonna write them down to form any kind of formal sentence. I'm just gonna write them as I think about them. Maybe I'll repeat them a couple times. Maybe, you know, some letters will start at the edge of one page and then, or on one line, and then pick up at the other line. So it's not really gonna be something super readable. It's just gonna be something fun and really interesting to look at. So I'm gonna start with writing the word round, because I think that's kind of a way that I would definitely describe this pot. And I only get R-O-U-N on the top line, so then I'm gonna put the D on the second line. And I'm gonna go ahead and write that again because it's actually really round. Okay, so here it is, my poem. I'll gladly read it to you. It doesn't make that much sense. It's kind of just like free writing, where I was just thinking about this pot and letting any thoughts that I was thinking flow right onto the piece of paper. But before I read it to you, we're just gonna finish up the visual part of it. I'm gonna go ahead and put my pen down, and now I'm gonna pick up my eraser. All of those lines that we had on there, the silhouette, everything that we kind of sketched out in the beginning, we're now just going to erase. Okay, there we go. A beautiful concrete poem. And it reads, round, really round, colorful, drippy, beautiful, colorful drips, big round pot, green and orange with lots of little speckles. Maybe someone would use it to hold garlic. Garlic, garlic, garlic. My favorite food might be garlic. Or maybe it's strawberries. Could you grow strawberries in a pot like this one? Or maybe just store them. I would really love a pot like this one. Round, really round pot with green and orange drips, maybe some dark green speckles. A really pretty pot. And you'll actually see here, I ran out of room. So when I got to my last sentence, a really pretty pot, I had to put that pot somewhere. So I just put it way down here at the bottom. If that happens to you, feel free to explore. Again, work outside the lines, see how it goes. Okay, I'm excited to see your results. Okay, everyone, you did it. You made it through. I can't wait to see your concrete poems. I bet they're so cool. I bet they look beautiful. I hope they're really fun and funny to read. Maybe they shouldn't even be read at all. Who knows? Okay, well, you know where to send them. I can't wait to see them. I hope you had fun with this video. See you guys next time.